can also, yeah, that's completely fine if you want to record. I'm going to take my presenter mode off.
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen. Share your screen. Cool. Can you see now? Yes. Should I just get that? Joanne? Yes, perfect. Okay. Yeah, so I can just get started on my end. I'm actually gonna share a different way. So share a window instead. Cool. Perfect. Well, hello everyone. Thank you for attending this talk / workshop. Really excited to be here. I've known Joanne for I think almost a year and a half now through the Kernel program. Yeah. And today I'm going to talk to you guys about just like the state of NFT blockchain data, how to find it, how to like what other resources are there, and what you can really do with it. So I'm Jennifer Tran, and I have a business and technical background. So I actually learned about blockchain because I was working in the supply chain industry, and there was just a lot of challenges that we had in the industry, and I was really trying to find a way to inefficiencies. So I discovered blockchain just like through my research of trying to make the supply chain industry just be more efficient, be more transparent. And from there, I was so inspired that I ended up teaching myself how to code, like a lot of you guys. And Code Academy actually was one of the the first resources that I actually utilized when I was learning how to code. And then from there, I ended up working at just a local developer agency. And then I ended up joining this Kernel program, which is incubator program for Web3 or blockchain enthusiasts who want to build projects. And that's where I met Joanne. And from that program, I actually ended up finding this project called MintGate. It's an NFT marketplace centered around unlockable content. So unlockable content is so NFTs with unlockable content mean that you have to own the NFT in order to access something else. So think of it like you need to buy an NFT in order to access like an exclusive song or document or like video. And that's like kind of what I've been here. But overall, I've had 2 years worth of experience in the blockchain space, both on the business and technical side. In this presentation, I will be dividing it up into 3 agenda items. First, I'm going to talk to you what are NFTs, how to find NFT data, and then what can you do with it. I'll give you guys a total of 4 demos, including we're going to be coding as well. And depending on time, I may opt to just make some of the demos a little shorter so we have some time to actually fetch an API call with NFT data. So how many of you guys have have NFTs, create NFTs? Drop it in the DMs. I'm very curious about that. So I'll stop sharing and then I'll see any responses. Anyone? Anyone create NFTs? Bought NFTs? Just yes or no?
I think Jasleen has, right? Mm-hmm. Jasleen? I think Jasleen told me she has.
Yeah, Joe, I did. I can't really remember the platform I did it on, and it's safe to say, it did not take off at all. I got 0 views. But yeah, I did try to make it. I went through the whole process of how to create it and how to post it and add a listing. But again, I was really lost after that, so I did not pursue it. Basically, I also paint, so I posted one of my art pieces as an NFT. Exactly why actually I'm attending this session, to know more so that I can do it the right way next time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wouldn't say that there is a right way. It's a lot of experimentation right now. There are platforms where you can almost protect yourself, right? Like there are platforms where you can technically mint for free, because then the person who buys NFT is actually going to be the one who actually mints it. So you do pay like no gas fees. You're just posting up your artwork. And there's definitely a lot more tools that really help creators. I will continue to share screen, but it's awesome that at least we have one NFT artist. But NFTs are taking off, as you guys might have experienced. Anything from like CryptoPunks to YouTube influencers such as Logan Paul or Beeple who sold his NFT for $69 million at a Christie's auction, which is really crazy. And so what are NFTs? NFTs are short for non-fungible tokens. They're ultimately digital certificates that are stored on the blockchain that represent a physical or digital item. I like to think of them as, just think of a JPEG, and then think of an NFT as the digital certificate that confirms that this JPEG is real and was stored, is real. And the digital certificate itself is actually stored on the blockchain, so not the actual artwork. So here are some use cases of NFTs. For example, Louis Vuitton just launched their own NFT collection for their 200-year anniversary. And for their NFTs, so you play the Louis Vuitton game, and your characters and your game assets are actual NFTs. So NFTs doesn't have to be just artwork. From they can be for example, an asset in the game. So Kings of Leon, which is a really popular band, they minted their album as an NFT. And then Gary Vee is a really well-known business entrepreneur, and he created his hand-drawn NFTs. And though these are pieces of artwork, what he did after that was anyone who owns any of NFTs, they will get also a ticket to his live conference later in the year. So NFTs themselves don't need to just be artwork. You can mint or you can tie anything. Anything that can be tied with a digital certificate can be an NFT. And also once you have an NFT, you can do a lot more with it. Unlockable content or token access is what we're seeing a lot of in the use cases. When you own this NFT in order to access. We're also seeing a lot of NFTs, NFT airdrops. You own a collection of these NFTs, and then you're airdrop this one exclusive NFT. So there's almost some sort of gamification or really encouragement to buy a certain set of NFTs. And I think that and then we're just seeing a resurgence of not just artwork, but other mediums of content that really makes sense for NFTs, such as gaming. For example, when you have a game asset, you have you own this character, right? It is valuable for you to have it as an NFT because since the blockchain is immutable and you can really be guaranteed that you actually own this instead of a game shutting down and then all of a sudden you don't even have access to this game asset that you bought and you really worked hard to earn. So you might be thinking, well, this NFT here, this artwork that Gary Vee created, what data can really be behind it? Well, actually, there's a lot of data behind this artwork. Because the blockchain is completely transparent and cannot be erased, ultimately, any data on the blockchain is completely open and technically free to access. And should be free to access, but there are some tools that I'm going to show you that might cost some money to utilize or will cost money to utilize in the future. But you can still find blockchain data for free, but it might be really hard for you to do maybe find it for free. There might be some tools that you want to utilize that might cost a little bit of money. Let's talk about how to find data on NFTs. Being a blockchain data architect is really fun because you're really going to have like two challenges. So when you put data on the blockchain, you have to pay money ultimately to put data on the blockchain, like through gas fees. And data, and there are some data that you may want to store just in a regular database that isn't immutable, isn't transparent, because just in terms of cost. So there's some data that's not stored on the blockchain. And I think they're reversed here. So there's some data that's not stored on so data actually stored on the blockchain is very important data. A lot of times it's required technically. And data that doesn't need to be stored on the blockchain, it's important data, but maybe you can link it. It's important data, but maybe you don't need to put the whole entire file of that data on the blockchain itself. Maybe you can just put a link to it on the permanent, a permanent link to it, somewhere. And then, the reason why people might not want to store everything on the blockchain, because like I mentioned, it's expensive to store the entire, all data on the blockchain. And we'll actually be able to see in the demos, what data and kind of how people are really structuring data on the blockchain. So NFT data actually on the blockchain. So in order to really learn more about your NFTs, you need two things to really get started. First is a contract address, and second is a token ID. And I'll be showing you and demoing to you how you can find this information. First is a contract. The contract is the code that actually created the NFTs itself. It's usually written in Solidity or Ethereum, and it's the contract, identification of the contract is a set of 42 characters of letters and numbers. So for example, VFriends, the NFT collection by Gary V, has the identification number for the contract is this. And as you can see, it's just a long series of letters and numbers that isn't necessarily, it's almost randomized. So yeah, and then the next data that you would need to know is the token ID. The token ID is the identification number associated with a specific ID, the NFT itself. So the contract address is the whole entire collection, right? So VFriends has this contract address that is 42 numbers and letters. But this Tiger NFT would have its own unique number to it. So each individual NFT would have a unique number in a wider collection. So for this, for example, this one would have 9421. And as a result, as you see here, this is ultimately the data for this one NFT. This is the contract address, and this is the token ID. And then I'm going to show you how you can find this information. So on the NFT marketplace websites or places NFT to sale, you can look for keywords such as DeFi and Etherscan. And I'll explain what Etherscan is. But I have 3 examples here on 3 examples of how you can find the contract address and token ID. So I'll go to them.
Jennifer, do you have a quick minute before you go through to answer a question?
Yes, I can.
Jocelyn had a question. I don't know. Jocelyn, do you want to unmute yourself and ask?
Yeah, so Jennifer, my question is the cost to store the NFT on the blockchain same as the gas fee that we pay? Or are they two different?
Yeah, so yeah, it's the gas fee that you pay. So so I'll mention the NFT itself. So the image itself is not going to be stored on the data, on the blockchain. But when you are you are an NFT creator, and you are interacting with the blockchain, and you're minting an NFT, that's practically like the gas fee is a cost for you to interact with the contract, that the code behind the NFT. And yeah, that's like the cost for you to interact with that code. For you, if you're so like, what website do you use in order to mint your NFT?
I mean, I've seen a couple, but I stopped because of the fact that in India the gas fee is really high because they show the gas fee in dollars. So when we convert it to the Indian currency, which is INR, it's pretty expensive. So I actually have been waiting for a platform for in India actually. So there has been a platform called Wazirex, which is a NFT marketplace. But again, it's an invite only platform till now. So I haven't been able to manage to get an invite. So I'm waiting for that.
Yeah, there's actually a couple ways to combat gas fees. So, Jocelyn, what Jocelyn mentioned is, if you're going on a site like OpenSea or Rarible and you're minting an NFT, you see gas fees. That is for you to interact with their code to mint that NFT. For them, they also have costs on their end. So when they created the code to mint an NFT, they also had to create so they actually had to pay upfront gas fees in order to put that code on the blockchain. And then and so that's kind of the initial. So when you're paying like Rarible and OpenSea or these marketplaces are not actually getting that cut per se. That gas fee is going directly to the miners. So like they're not like getting like a cut. So that's like just like the gas fee is for you to interact with the code, interact with the Ethereum blockchain. It all kind of goes in the Ethereum ecosystem. But to go to Jocelyn's point, it can be really expensive to mint an NFT because you have to pay these gas costs to interact. There are different alternatives to that. So first, you could mint on a layer 2 blockchain. So a layer 2 blockchain is a subchain that is Ethereum compatible, and they've optimized it so that the gas fees are much lower. So that like some of these platform, like one of these layer 2s is called Polygon, another is XDAI, and you can mint on these side chains, and they're much cheaper. So, for example, I know an NFT creator who normally if they minted this NFT, they would pay like $90 US, but on Matic they might be paying like only 30 cents. And when you mint an NFT on Ethereum sidechain, such as Polygon Matic, the gas fees are much lower. But in the future, what you can do if you ever want to is that you can take that NFT and you can pour it over to Ethereum, the Ethereum blockchain if you want to. If you do want to ever end up like wanting to pay for those gas fees, so like that's an alternative. The second alternative that I would also suggest then is minting. As a creator, you are allowing this NFT to eventually be minted. But whoever buys the NFT will be the one that's minting it. So think about it is you upload your artwork or whatever, your NFT ultimately. And you as a creator don't have to pay the gas fees. And then whoever buys it will be the one that actually will be minting the NFT onto the blockchain with your permission. So lazy minting is available on C, on Rarible, also on MintGate, because they're powered by a Rarible protocol, had to show. And lazy minting is becoming definitely more popular. So definitely look into platforms that say like lazy minting or offer this as a service. Is that helpful?
Yes, absolutely. I'm gonna look up all the platforms that you mentioned because the Indian one is definitely taking a lot of time. So I mean, I'd love to try out some other platforms as well. You mentioned Rarible, so yeah, I had tried to publish mine on Rarible itself. I
Yeah,
just
and I
forgot the
think
name. Mm-hmm.
Rarible should have like lazy minting now. There should be probably like an option for you to select do lazy minting. And I think they also do minting on Polygon, which is the layer 2. So definitely
Okay.
take a look into like one of the like some of those options. Yeah,
Yeah, will do. Thanks, Jennifer.
yeah, you're welcome. Awesome. Any more questions, Joanne? I'm sharing like the screen so I can actually see the chat. But let me know if there's any other questions.
Sure. No, I don't see any at the moment. But yeah, if there are any other questions, guys, please ask. Krishna just shared that many blockchains also offer NFTs like Flow, Nair, BNB, Polkadot. So
Yeah, all those other blockchains as well are really great alternatives like Flow, Polkadot, and Near, Tezos. There's a lot of other chains other than Ethereum that you can definitely like take a look into, and their gas fees might be other platforms that are related to those blockchains might have like might offer lower fees or might offer like more incentives for you.
okay, brilliant. Well, I don't see any other
Go back.
questions, so I'd say go ahead, maybe.
Awesome. So
Okay.
I'll go back and just mention like how you can find the contract address and token ID. So in OpenSea, like all you have to do is just go to details, and then it will just like advise you on the contract address. It's a link to Etherscan and then token ID. So when I say like link to Etherscan, a lot of times they'll just like link to Etherscan, which is a website where you can put in any contract address or any wallet address, almost anything on the Ethereum blockchain, and it will just return you like a whole bunch, all the transactions for that contract. So in this case, this is like VFriend's contract, and yeah, it links to the Etherscan, and then you can copy the contract address as well as see like all the transactions. Next, I would say is Foundation. Foundation is also just very similar as well, but in Foundation, what you have to do is like there will be a link to Etherscan itself, to the actual token itself. So in this case, the contract address is this here, and the token ID is this. So it actually links you directly to the specific like transaction page for the contract and token ID. So in this case here, it looks like this person created the NFT. And I just know how Foundation works. So this person created an NFT, and then when they put it, they give it back to Foundation, the platform. That's not like necessarily a standard in like the NFT space. It's just like how Foundation works. But yeah, like you can practically put in any sort of contract address and token ID and Etherscan, be able to see that data. And then next is I'll show you on Rarible. On Rarible, you're probably thinking, oh, like I'm looking at details, but we're just like link you to OpenSea instead. And on OpenSea, you should be able to NFT, but you NFT and also see the details. So I'd say like OpenSea is the NFT aggregator where even if like you're not minting on like an OpenSea, like you should be able to see like all NFTs on the Ethereum blockchain on OpenSea, be able to see their data, even if they didn't mint on OpenSea. Like OpenSea is like kind of like the biggest aggregator, in my opinion. Awesome. So next, as I mentioned, this would be the contract address and token ID for this NFT. And so when you have the contract address and token ID, what you can really do is you can really take a look at the contract metadata. Contract metadata is the information on the contract or the code behind the NFT collection. So when a developer creates the contract itself, what they'll do is they'll like code like a JSON file about the collection, like a JSON file that just like lists like some information about the contract, and that information itself is actually like stored on the blockchain, so you really can see like more about the contract. And like Covalent API to query some metadata and take a look at some metadata. Covalent HQ is a provider of REST APIs that query data on various blockchains. In this case, we'll be looking at the Ethereum blockchain, but they also have integrations with Near and other blockchains that we'll also see. And they have a really vibrant community developer program called the Alchemist program. I'm actually part of their community dev program, and if you're really interested in like data and like blockchain data in general, I really encourage you to apply to their developer program. And yeah, it's completely free to apply. And yeah, and then also like you can do tasks in order to get tokens. So yeah, it's really like in terms of commitment, it's like how you want to really put in, like how much you want to put into it. But you do need to like, at least to be like once a month in order to continue to be part of the program. So let's test it out. Let's test out using Covalent and also and then putting into one of their APIs and see what data we find. So in this moment, what you can do is let's create a free account on covalenthq.com. And then once you have a free account, then we're just going to go to their docs and use one of their APIs. So I'll give everyone like two. If you don't want to create an account, I will still be done with on my screen. So no worries if you're not comfortable creating an account, but if you do want to follow along, you can take the next 2 minutes to create an account. Again, it's covalenthq.com. And I'll show you the site. Yeah, and let me know if you need help or stuck.
I created mine, Jennifer. It's just saying setup progress is slow.
Yes, Joanne, I think you're cutting in and out. I couldn't hear you.
Oh no. Can you hear me a little bit
Yeah,
better
I can
now?
hear you better now.
Okay. Yeah, I created mine. It just says that setup progress it's really slow. It's moving a little slow. It says setup. Okay. Add API key. I guess we'll get to that point, but yeah.
Yeah, so okay, yeah, so it does have there would be like an API key. I don't think you need an API key. Well, yeah, you need an account and it generates you an API key, which is practically an API key is just like a identifier that specific to that account when you're using the data. Ultimately, like a lot of platforms just like generate an API key for you, so they know that whenever you're using the API, it's you that you're using the API. So it might take a minute to load.
Okay, okay, I got it. It's I think it's working now. It's on its way.
Okay, cool. And then when you're on the API key page, like there should be like a C reference or C docs button that you click on. But if you can't get to it, like what you guys can type in is this covalenthq.com/docs/API. And that's like where we're going to go next. Okay. Cool. So now we're going to go to covalenthq.com/docs/API. And then we're just going to take a look at some metadata and also just some data about NFTs themselves. So there's a couple of APIs that Covalent provides in Class A that could really be helpful with as NFTs in general. So as I mentioned, like what you can do, as I mentioned, like the contract address has contract address is the collection. Contract is a collection of the NFT, and the token IDs are the individual. So what you can do, one of the APIs they have is you can just input the chain ID, a chain ID as it mentions here, one for Ethereum, and then the contract address, and then it'll just like return you the all the token IDs in that contract. So I'm gonna copy Gary V's and then let's do that. Oh yeah, I should probably give you guys this. And this is contract address that we'll be working with the entire time. So we'll see here, Covalent. And then if I click on try, what I'll be able to do, and then it just return me a whole bunch of information, including all the token, it should, or am I on, yeah, it should return me all the token IDs from always 0. And then I think Gary Vee has made hundreds of these. So I think there's hundreds of NFTs. We're probably all NFTs. Oh, 99 of the NFTs. 99 NFTs. So you can see all of the NFTs. But I'll just also then take a look at contract metadata API. So what I can do is, actually no, for this, I don't think they have no Ethereum quite supported. So I'm just going to go to get external NFT metadata. So what I'll do is in this get external NFT metadata, oh yeah, don't make sure you, because it'll go to another API. I'll put 1 because that's the number for the Ethereum chain. And then I'll put in the contract address. And then I'll put in the token ID as well. And token ID for the one that we were looking at was 9421. And you can also have other optional query parameters as well, such as what currency you want it to return, the quote, as well the price, as well as other you can sort through, you can format into CSV, but you don't need to fill out all of these. These are the required parameters. And as you saw in when I was clicking around through a lot of these APIs, contract address is always required, and token ID is most of the time is also required, or is really helpful to you to find what specifically for that NFT. And then also chain ID 1 for Ethereum. And you can also just, yeah, and that doesn't change for each network. It just is a standard for a certain blockchain. They have a certain number associated with it. So with this, I'm going to click on try. And then it's going to return me a whole bunch of data on the actual like NFT itself. So I know that here too, it mentioned that there's external metadata. So like some of this data is not stored on the blockchain, and there's some that I know that are not necessarily stored on the blockchain itself, but just grabbed from another source. And I don't know if they tell you this directly, but I can kind of go through it. So for example, let's take a look at the data for this one NFT. What you get in return is like the contract address, the contract name, contract ticker symbol, contract address. And usually like this information is actually stored on the blockchain because it's related to the actual like collection itself. And there are things such as the logo URL, the quote. Those are external data from the marketplaces, because like that's like a lot of times the price is not stored on the blockchain. That is just stored in an external database itself, like from the marketplace. And then there's going to be other data that you're going to be able to find through through this. So like token ID, token URL, and yeah, let me see this token URL. I'm really curious because a lot of times, like I mentioned, like on the blockchain, like they're not going to store like the actual image itself, but they'll actually store the image on like a perma web or permanent web type system, like a file storage that will be permanent forever. That is like technically off chain. So like IPFS or Arweave is like, I wouldn't say like it's kind of like a blockchain, but for example, IPFS is really popular, and they'll store like the image of the NFT onto IPFS, which is like a permanent storage solution, but it's not like a blockchain per se, but they'll just like put the link of the IPFS like on the blockchain, but not the whole entire image itself. So I actually want to see this here. Okay, yeah, they're just like showing just like other metadata as well. Yeah, this is a link to, I think this is a link to other metadata actually. So I think like this is like actual metadata that's stored on the blockchain. So the image itself, like they'll like put like a link to the image. I don't think this, to me, I don't think this is like stored on the like permaweb, but just maybe just a link somewhere that someone can take down. There's a description, extra all the names, and like their traits. So the traits of the actual like image itself. So it's a tiger, it's a mammal, and it seems like they had a link to the metadata itself. So that's interesting. Cool. So this is like what you can find in terms of the API data that is stored on the blockchain. Some data isn't stored on the blockchain. Does anyone have any questions on utilizing these APIs to kind of like learn more about NFTs? Awesome. Well, I think like Covalent is completely free for you to use. So definitely take a look into any of these APIs as well. And now that you know how to get the contract address and token IDs, just play around with these APIs and you'll get NFT transactions, contract metadata, get a transaction, and just like play around and like what data you can actually find and utilize. So I'll continue with the presentation. I'll continue. So we did talk about like what data would not be stored. A lot of times like the price data itself, the actual artwork itself, but there would be probably like maybe like a link that's actually stored actually on the metadata itself. And what you can also do is, for a lot of this data, you can just rely on the APIs and the marketplaces themselves. So like marketplaces such as Rarible and OpenSea have their own APIs that you can utilize in your projects to just grab data about like the NFTs on the marketplace. So in this case, I'm not going to go through like a full demo because I am sure in time and want to have like some time to code as well, have questions. But for example, Rarible is a marketplace, and Rarible has their own APIs that you can query through. Here's Rarible, and Rarible like API.reference Rarible like has like a whole bunch of APIs on their contracts, as well as you can see like any orders, any sales, any orders, any sales. And yeah, like you can just query through a lot of these APIs. And I really encourage you to take a look at APIs from the marketplaces, but also from some of these subchains that you have heard of, like Flow or Near or Tezos. Like a lot of those blockchains also have their own APIs. The group that created the blockchain has also created. So definitely take a look into those. And then next, I want to show you like how you might be able to create your own APIs. Okay, mind blowing. You can create your own APIs with data. And next, what I'll be showing you is, so Covalent is a platform that will eventually let you be able to create your own like REST APIs. But right now, I think the Graph is probably the most like well-known indexing protocol that allows you to query through networks such as like Ethereum IPFS and be able to get data. So anyone can build open APIs on the Graph, and I think like right now, like I think you need to have like their token in order to create it, GRT or MATIC token, in order to create an API. But I'll demo like going into their studio and like what information that you will need in order to create a specific API related to a specific contract or a collection, and go from there. But I might not go through the entire process because I might need to spend some tokens in order to do it. But I'll also be able to share you. And I also show you in the coded demo, also show you like how you can fetch an API and just utilize the API. Okay, so this is so if you go to thegraph.com, what you'll be able to do then in the right-hand corner is go to Subgraph Studio. Then connect your wallet. I'll connect my MetaMask. And then it will just ask you to sign just to confirm that this is your wallet. And then what you can do is then like create like a subgraph or create an API yourself. So I try to create a MintGate API, but I don't think I've deployed it quite yet. So when you create in their studio, you can create like what if I just put Code Academy? Yeah, Code Academy. And then some information like you want to utilize, you want in order to create this. So it's like ask you a description, ask you for a photo. If you're also like if you're creating like a GitHub repo for this API, like ask you for that. And then it also will give you a list of instructions on how you can create this, like how you can create this API. So it's going to ask you to install like Graph CLI, init it, and then also like OAuth and deploy. So I personally know like how you would need to do this is like when you're going through these steps, you are going to need to just input the contract address in so that like it knows like which contracts like you want to create an API of. So let's just go to maybe one of the contracts and just kind of see the breakdown. I'm actually just going to go to the unlock process, or like going to unlock subgraph. So let me just like drop it in the chat there. But this is the subgraph that we're going to just query through in the code demo, in like when we're writing like code. And so I just wanted just to show you how, I just go through and show how it looks like. So unlock protocol is it's like a platform / like infrastructure that really allows you to make time-based NFTs. So what you can do is you can create an NFT that has a time restriction. So when you're on Unlock, you create like an NFT collection where you say, this NFT can only be, like, when someone buys NFT, it can only be available for 30, 60, 90 days. And the value of Unlock Protocol is you can turn your NFTs into memberships. So imagine one of your fans like buys an Unlock, an NFT created on Unlock, and they'll just be able to have that NFT for 30 days. And so, like, if you're tying like an NFT to access something that you have NFT for the amount of time. And I don't know if they burn the NFT but it does like disappear from your wallet. So I'm assuming that they burn it. But I don't know like that specific detail. And so what they do, how they call, so they have an API of all of the contracts that a creator has created on their platform, as well as any purchases. So they call a lock as the contract and a key as the actual individual NFT. And someone can buy a key, like their NFT. And so what you would do in this, so for every single graph, subgraph, there is like a playground where you can just take a look at the data behind it. And the graph is actually built on something called GraphQL. It's a different language it's a language to query through APIs that is like more modern. So I'll actually be able to show you like how you can actually use like GraphQL to query through like a GraphQL API. I actually what I'm going to show you is actually something that I did literally yesterday, like for the MintGate platform, because we're integrating with Unlock. And what I'm trying to do on our platform is just because we have this like token gating system, what we're doing is if you have an Unlock, if you set up like a gated content with Unlock contract, our site is going to do something. So I had to just query through the list of NFT contract addresses from the Unlock API and then do something with it. So I'm actually going to show you the exact code that I use to do this. So it's going to be pretty cool for you to see exactly like my work. And what I'll suggest in this case is we're going to go to, I think we can go to like Code Sandbox, which is an IDE. I know we have a couple minutes, so I'll go through this, but I can also share the code towards the end, so that you can just like digest it after the call. But when you go to codesandbox.io, you can click on Create Sandbox. And I suggest you choosing React. Okay, cool. So this is React. I won't go through like the structure. In React, you will have like when you create a React in index.js, I would ask everything in index.js, but no, everything else can stay there. And under dependencies, add dependency, Axios as a dependency. It's like a package like where you can fetch like APIs like pretty easily. And I also definitely recommend using Axios as opposed to like a fetch like function when you're first starting out. So I added Axios as a dependency. Okay, and what I would do in this case is first thing I need to do is I need to import Axios as a package that I'm using. So import space Axios from parentheses, double quotes. Make sure it's double quotes Axios, and then at the end there, I will then put like, and then, okay, so the next thing that I would need to do is do Axios.post. What this does is it pretty much actually like fetches the API itself. And for GraphQL, like APIs, like they're post APIs, so I need to like fetch them using the post method. Parentheses. And then I'm just going to have quotes. Next thing is I'm going to have quotes. And then now I'm going to go the URL to the API. So on unlock, the URL to the API is going to be this queries HTTP. This is like the other ones up here. Like GitHub is just like a repo, but like I would need this query HTTP. Yes. And so then now I'm going to go back to Code Sandbox and just put that API in there. Oh. I'm gonna copy everything and just word wrap it. So what I did here, in order for it, like this long string to not like go past this window, I just like did Control A, and then I did Option Z so that it just like was within my world, or I guess like within my screen. And then I think I can share this link to you guys, so that, you know, if anyone is just like this wants to follow along, like you can see, I think you can see me code live, but cannot confirm or deny that. Then once you have the API after the double quotes, yeah.
We can. We're seeing it.
Oh, you guys can't see the link?
I can see it, so I think we all can.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so like if you guys do want to just utilize that link and follow along, that's perfectly fine as well. But also you can like go through Sandbox and just copy exactly, you know, what I'm doing right now. And so after the double quotes, you do a comma, and then after that, I think you're gonna do a curly braces. Like when you do a curly braces, it will then like have another curly brace at the end. And after that, you're going to do query colon. Oh, and then these tick marks. The tick mark for me, the tick mark is above the tab. This is not the quote, but tick marks themselves. So yeah, use just like a single quote. And then you're gonna have another series of parentheses. And this is really dependent on how like the API is developed. So in this case here, like in order for you to get like the key purchases, you're gonna have to have your query look like this. But this is really dependent on how like the API is structured. This is pretty much just saying like, hey, grab this data in this format. So I'm just gonna copy this here. I don't need this extra colon then, I don't believe so. So what I'm doing here is that I'm just gonna, I just copied this from the unlock graph, these initial key purchases here. And then from there, I'm just gonna do a then res. I know that we have just like a couple minutes, so I'm just gonna like power through this. Part of what I'm saying is then like result for each key purchase of res data key purchases. And then outside of that, I'm going to have another curly braces. I'm just going to console log the each key purchases. Yeah, key purchases. I think that should do it, honestly. I think that should do it. So what it does is I there's like console, logging in console. So in your code sandbox, just click on the word in the bottom right hand. There should be a word called console, and you should click on it. And if you click on it, you'll just be able to see like all a list of all the locks and all like the contract addresses and the wallet address of the purchaser. Yeah, so that's like as just a way for you to just query through the data on Unlock or on GraphQL. You can also do the same with covalent APIs as well. Or REST API, it's going to be a little different because like it doesn't need this query, so you can just do like a regular Axios stat post. But yeah, like this is like how you would query through the data. Do more of it. I'm gonna save this so you guys can have access to it. But that link that I just dropped in, like you can just keep it and do more, or just like replace this with another subgraph. Because if you go to like the graphs, like subgraph explorer, you should be able to see like a whole bunch of other like graphs for other projects and be able to just query through their data ultimately. So I know that we only have 3 minutes left, and I'll share you guys PowerPoint presentation. But there's also some challenges with NFT data, as I showed you. For example, like each marketplace shows their data in different ways. And I'll also like to challenge you guys to think about, as developers, as tech enthusiasts, think about how can creators use this data to inform themselves about their NFTs or other collections similar to theirs. And also, how can investors, enthusiasts use this data to invest in NFTs? And as a summary, what we learned today was that the contract address and token ID is kind of like the most critical information needed to find more data on NFTs. And you can use Covalent to get like their REST APIs to get more NFT data. As well, you can use the graph to create your own APIs, but you can also use it to query like specific information about like different collections. And those are all created by community members or the projects themselves. And you can also like find data about NFTs like through the marketplaces themselves, especially for any data that's actually not stored on the blockchain. Thank you, and I'll also share this presentation. But if you guys have any questions in the last few minutes, let me know.
That was bravo. I love that. Thank you, Jennifer. Does anybody have any questions? I learned a lot today, Jennifer. Thank you.
Yeah, first of all, thank you a lot, Jennifer. It's Lorenzo here. It was very nice. For me, this was sort of an introduction. I just wanted to ask, what is the, let's say, the purpose of creating our own API? Because I'm assuming that, I'm assuming there are some websites where I can just go and probably somebody has, a nice interface to an API. So why would I create my own?
Yeah, so for a lot of the other, for a lot of like general APIs, like they're maybe not be contract specific. So for example, for a lot of like APIs like on the graph, it's specific for the specific project, specific contract that the project created. For example, Unlock Protocol created their own, like for Unlock Protocol, their own like contract, so everyone who interacts with their platform will be interacting with that specific contract, and so like I think it's just more of making sure like the data is really compact to the project level or the contract level or collection level itself. And that's kind of the value that I'm seeing, at least like on like the on these subgraphs, is these projects are creating APIs specific for their contract for their community.
Right.
As opposed to like their own, as opposed to like just using like general purpose API that might have a list of information from all of the from all the contracts on Ethereum, or you have to query in like a contract address yourself in order to get that data. The other value add, I think, is when you utilize like a decentralized protocol to create a API like the graph. You're not relying on centralized parties to create these APIs. So, for example, you might use like Rarible Marketplace to get like most of your data, and it helps. But if Rarible Marketplace ever shuts down, you won't have that that API anymore. So it's almost like using the graph, like you're almost like decentralizing the API process itself.
Okay, I see.
Mm-hmm.
And just another question here. If I understood correctly, once I create an NFT, somebody could buy that NFT, and basically that person would have the sort of a certificate that says that he's the only owner of whatever piece of content I created.
Yeah, so you mean unlockable content, or?
But can I say, could I sell the same piece of content to more people?
Yeah, so for ERC 1155 contracts, what you can do is you can create the same NFT, but different copies of the same NFT.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, same copy. So there's other I think on Rarible and OpenSea, like they support the ERC 1155 standard. And yes, you can create different copies of the contract. But the thing is, you have to do it all in one flow. So for example, you create this NFT, 10 copies of this NFT. If you go back and want to create 20, you can't do that. It will be a different NFT if you go back and say I want. Yeah, you can't go back and add more to the NFT.
But then who is, say that I'm an artist and I want to sell something through an NFT. First I make it unique, so I create only one piece, one NFT, and then eventually I create another NFT where I say that I can sell it to 20 more people. That is technically possible, but it wouldn't be very nice for the person, for the first buyer, right? Because he thought he was going to buy something unique. So how does that work? There is no guarantee that I'm the sole owner of something, right?
There is a guarantee, because when you create that one first NFT that you created, it's a track address and different token ID as a second one that you created.
Right.
So it is you completely unique in a sense that it does have a different contract adjustment, and it will have a completely different token.
Right, I see. While the next 20 people will have another. Right. Okay.
Right. And that's also the same if you upload two exact same images. So for example, you upload this image on Image and you sell it. It's going to be the same contract address and token ID. It'll be a contract address and token ID. But if you upload the same image the next day later, it's going to be a different contract address and token ID.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, hopefully you can mint some NFTs and then create some really great dashboards about the data. Yes.
Yeah, I'd be curious to try something actually.
Or yeah, you find NFTs that you have bought as well.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
As I mentioned to you, you can also create APIs of social tokens. So you could create your own Werebirds API.
Social token. Okay. Without having to go through just my own.
Oh, you can it'll be just more. It's just an API. There's the data behind your token.
Got it.
But
Okay.
like yeah, it's still like yeah, it's still the contract is still tied to rule.
Okay. Okay. That's
Yeah.
good to know. Yeah. Social tokens, they were hot a while ago, weren't they? Jennifer.
They're still hot.
Are they still hot? Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Cool.
still pretty hot. Yeah.
Nice. Well, that
I
was
mean, it's just like I think
Jennifer.
I
Sorry,
think
go.
that there's like a lot of platforms where you can mint your social tokens now. So they're becoming more hot. Say.
There are more options now, aren't there? Since when
There are definitely more
Roll
options.
came out last year. Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions for Jennifer before we wrap up? Thanks for your questions, Lorenzo.
Thank you. I would say like if you guys have any other questions, like definitely just email me at jennifer@makekudos.com. I'm also at Twitter at jkim_Tran. And I think I promised you guys I would send you guys the link to, but I didn't do that. Or did I?
Oh, the link to
I did
the
do that. I
Prezi?
did do that. I'll send it again.
Okay, yeah, you
And
sent it earlier,
then
but that's fine. Yeah.
yeah.
So many resources. Wicked. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
I'm
Joanne, for
gonna have
having
to
me.
send. It's
There's
my
a lot more
pleasure.
resources in terms of like data API that I can cover in like an hour. But I think, yeah, this is a good starting point for you guys to get started and just like dive in a little bit more.
No, you were brilliant. Thank you so much for
Thank
coming.
you.
I know you're busy, so we appreciate your time. All right,
Thank you so
everyone.
much.
Thank you. See you guys hopefully next month. Thanks,
See you.
Kresna and
Thanks,
Natalia
Joanne.
and
Nice to
Dustin.
see you again.
As always, yeah, nice to see you. Take care, guys. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.